Howdy folks, StrayCat74 here. Welcome back to the Basement of Solitude. Yeah, I know, 2 videos in 1 week. I better slow down, right? Well, a lot of people talk about what is the perfect rifle. I don't think such a thing exists. At least, not a one-size-fits-all perfect rifle. Well, I'm going to be focusing on some 22 days because, well, I have a couple. Now, all of these are my personal 22 firearms. Well, rifles anyway. None of these are donated. None of these are borrowed. Yes, I have a little bit of a stockpile. I like to joke and say that I can arm a small third world nation. So, as with the ARAK debates, which is the better 22 rifle, it always comes down to either the Marlin Model 60 or the Remington 1022. And the answer is whatever's best for you. I own both. I've shot both, and they both have their charms. You can look up in Wikipedia. The 1022 was manufactured in 1965 and have sold over 6.5 million. Mine is the 50th anniversary edition, and I picked this up fairly recently, actually. Came with the scope, came with the rails, came with a piece of crap Butler Creek plastic-lipped magazine, and every third round jammed. Failed to eject or failed to extract from the magazine. I went and bought some BX-25s and a pair of BX-1s, which are the rotary 10-round magazines, and these work just fine. Since I switched magazines, I haven't had a single problem. So this is a standard 1022, and what is this? Let's see, 3 to 9 power scope, which is not bad. Not bad at all. I was making 100-yard shots on a 6-inch target and hitting more often than not with this rifle. And I'm not that good of a shot. Only because I don't get to shoot very much. Now, also according to Wikipedia, the Marlin Model 60 was first produced in 1960 and has had over 11 million sold. Now, of the two, the 1022 was more popular because it has more options. There are more options for stocks than there are options for this in total. I'm not even joking on that. So this one's much more configurable. This one is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Brand new 1022 from, I'm going to use the Wally as an example, 280 and up is what they were listed at my local Wally. Now that is not the takedown version. That's just a standard 50th anniversary with Cerakote and special stock. This is actually a Glenfield Model 60 that was marketed by Sears & Company, Sears Roebuck & Company. You can tell by the squirrel stock here. I got this at the local pawn shop. And you may notice this little doohickey here. That's because the stock was split right there. I mean, it was almost split in half, halfway through the stock. We, me and my brother, bent the stock out a little bit, actually breaking it a little bit more. Injected a bunch of wood glue in here, straightened it, clamped it in place for 48 hours, and I put the gun back together, and I haven't had a problem out of it since. This is a 4x28 scope, 4 power by 28 objective lens here, and I don't have my targets handy, but I have pistol targets that I put out at 50 yards, and I could almost cover up any 10-round group with my thumb. This holds 15 in the tubular magazine, which goes that way. And yes, I did pay a little bit of money to get the speed loader, which holds 15 shots Per tube, there are 8 tubes. So that's what, like 130 something? It's a bunch. And this is a full day shooting right here. This is go to the range and F off kind of shooting here. And in this rifle, lots of fun. I haven't actually used the iron sights because it's got that on there. Absolute excellent rifle. Another excellent rifle. My mother had one of these way back in the day, and, well, they're awesome rifles. This is a Norinco SA-22, which is a, let's see, imported by Inter Arms, Hensho in China, or made in China, which is an exact duplicate of the Browning SA-22. This, the magazine is in the buttstock. You give it a quarter twist, pull out, and then feed them nose first, 11 of them. Close, rack. Now, the wonderful thing about this is you loosen the barrel here, fold that down, retract the bolt slightly. Really? It's gonna stick on me, huh? Oh, push forward. Shows you how long it's been. It's been at least a year since I've taken this apart to clean it or shoot it. So push forward, retract the bolt, quarter turn, and there it is. Reinstall, twist, release, click, and then tighten that up. Excellent firearm. This is one of the first well, not this specific gun, but this specific style. My mother had an actual Browning, Belgian Browning SA-22, and it was the first semi-automatic rifle I ever fired. An absolute awesome little rifle. Very light, very portable. If you only put 11 and you turn them around so they're facing the right way, this thing speed loads really well. Another 22 semi-automatic. I first saw these back in the 80s, and I wanted one so bad. By the time I could afford one, Clinton came out with his assault weapon ban in '94, and the company went out of business for obvious reasons. They were bought out and stuffed in a warehouse. I mean, the entire company, wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling, the entire warehouse was packed for well over 10 years. They were bought out, and they're back in business now. So, yes, you can get a brand new Calico. This is not a brand new Calico. Based on the serial number, which is right here, it's a 6-digit serial number with no numbers in front of it. It was manufactured sometime between December of '85 and February of '86. 1986, obviously. And it was between that time periods. We weren't able to determine exactly when in that period, but because of, the records that have not yet been digitized, that was as close as we could come. Calico is back in business. I had this sent in to replace several pieces of the internals that wear out. A little rubber bit that after 3 to 5 years gets hard and the gun doesn't cycle properly. Sent it in. I also had the chamber remouthed to accept the new magazines, the new style, which feed a hell of a lot more reliably. So there's a little storage compartment in there. I usually have a 22 bore snake. Pardon. Interesting things. Fold that up. Push this forward. Push right here to get that to slide forward, and that locks into place. Now, this thing's light enough, even with 100 rounds, you can shoot the carbine as you would a normal pistol. It's not heavy at all. The magazine is the most interesting thing on here. This is a 100-round magazine. Pinch on both sides here, lift, and the magazine comes out. The action is actually based off the Ruger 1022, which is why I wanted to get one of those. Let's see, push up there. The bolt hold open is here. You have to push up on it. So you can see firearm is empty. Actually, all of these are empty because they were in my gun safe up until about 2 minutes before I started the video. So, not supposed to dry fire 22s, but I don't want to leave this locked and cocked. I'm going to set this down and show you the magazine. These are the feed lips on the magazine. This is one of the improvements that the new and improved Calico came up with. The instructions are, you push the clutch button here in the center to release the tension. You'll notice there's no tension on here. As you push down and slide back, each round will cause the thing to turn ever so slightly, and every 10 to 20 rounds, hit the clutch again. If for whatever reason the shuttle isn't coming back up all the way, just give this a couple of twists. And after you've loaded a few into it, there, you can hear the spring releasing a little bit. After you've loaded a few into it, give it a couple of twists, press the button again just to take the tension off. Once you get 100 rounds in this, give it a couple of turns to bring the first round all the way up to the front, press the clutch. When the spring is completely relaxed, you can leave that on a shelf for 20 or 30 years loaded. You won't damage the spring as long as the tension has been released. Then you turn this, I forget exactly how many times. I'm going to have to look that back up. I always have to look it up, but I believe it's 15 full revolutions. It's 11 to 15. It's somewhere right in there. I always forget the exact number. Full revolutions before you shoot. That puts the drive mechanism, which is actually in the center of the magazine, puts that under tension, bringing the rounds up to the front here. Then to load, swap hands here. You'll see that there's this little dimple thing here, and there's a dimple thing in there. Line those up, and then press down and lock into place. Now, the 9mm version of this rifle, or of the Calicos, has the rear sight on the magazines. I don't care for that much, but I can understand why they did that, to give you a little bit longer sight radius. The 9mm have a 50-round magazine or a 100-round magazine. The 50-round takes 23 revolutions to charge it all the way up in 9mm. This one's only a 22, and it's a 22 long rifle, so the rifle is only good as the ammo you're using. If you're using old ammo, you're going to have old ammo results. 22 is a healed bullet, very hydroscopic. It's going to absorb a lot of water. You can see on the sights, I hit this with a little bit of paint a while back. I did that with a bunch of my firearms. So, the Calico 1022, or excuse me, the Calico M100, based off the 1022 action here. Set that there. Another 22, for those who prefer cowboy action, is the Henry. The Henry, the traditional Henry lever action 22. As you can see, the hammer's here. Release that. I actually haven't fired this one a whole bunch. I've only taken this shooting once. It is also a tube-fed magazine, as most Henry rifles in 22 are. There's a couple that are not, like the Henry AR-7, the survival rifle. I don't care for the grip, and I don't care for being limited to 7 rounds, but the Henry survival rifle is an excellent rifle. Now, there were 3 things I would change. Bolt hold open, which it does not have. 7-round magazines, which I prefer that 3 extra rounds that's, you know, convenient and popular in most rifles. And making the grip a little bit smaller. I'd lock the barrel into the side of the stock and have a traditionally sized stock rather than that overmolded piece of plastic. Personal opinion, I'm not going to change their mind. That design's been around for a long time. This is obviously blued steel, not brass frame, which means it's $200 cheaper than the brass frame. Excellent rifle. Very fast, very light, but most 22s are. Now we're going to get into a few older guns. This is a Remington Model 12, and it was produced from 1922 until 1930 something or other. I forget exactly when. 33, I believe. This specific gun was bought by a mom and pop traveling circus, town fair kind of thing, and it was used as a gallery gun up until about mid-40s, and I haven't been able to track it since then. Based on serial number, descriptions, sales, and records, I didn't actually find out where it went to until the late 90s, in which case it got put into a private collector's collection, and I bought it from his estate sale, pardon. Not enough coffee. Let me remedy that a little bit. An estate sale through a pawn shop. It is a pump action. It is also a takedown. You'll see this huge goddamn screw here. You undo this screw, and the unit comes in, breaks down in half for easy transport. Similar to the SA-22. Like I said, this is the Norinco, which this one says China. I know Norinco was Japanese for a while. There were some quality control issues with them, but that's not in that batch. It was only the first generation Norincos that there was an issue. That has long since been fixed, by the way. But the Remington Model 12, this thing will eat anything you put through it. Short, long rifle. I fired CB caps, 22 shorts. I do have a box. Hang on a second. Oh, excuse me. Aguila Super Calibre. These things are basically a primer and a 20-grain bullet. You hear a loud click, you hear a loud thump when it hits. Other than that, it's as quiet as you can get without suppressing the firearm. Awesome little thing to play with here. This next one has a little bit of a history. This is the Marlin Model 10. Yes, I've got a couple of Marlins. This is the slightly downgraded version of the first rifle I ever fired. The first rifle I ever fired was at my grandfather's place in Minnesota, and it was a Marlin Crown Prince 101. The only differences between this rifle and the first rifle I ever fired, and I was probably 6 or 8 at the time, I don't remember exactly what, is this has the knob, whereas the Crown Prince had the ring. This has a plastic guard, where the Crown Prince had a metal guard. And this is a plain Jane wood stock, whereas the Crown Prince had a laminated stock. The only other difference is this isn't the actual rifle, which should be obvious. It is a single bolt action, so you work the lever, put your round in. The gun is not locked or cocked yet. It is loaded, but not cocked. You have to pull back on this ring until this red shows right here. And I'm going to take the tension off that. There is no safety. There is only Zool. Wait a minute. Ghostbusters reference. Never mind. With the sights as far down as it is, this is point of aim, point of impact at 100 yards. Easily take a squirrel, a coyote, fox, raccoons, birds, you name it. This thing's a tack driver. The Crown Prince, the Crown Prince is also extremely accurate. These have the micro groove rifling that the Marlin Company, New Haven, Connecticut, based on the markings here, came up with. This is actually a Glenfield Model 10. The only difference is the quality of the wood in the stock, and this is yet another one that was sold by Sears and Roebuck. This was actually a catalog gun before they stopped being able to sell guns in their catalog. I believe the Remington Model 12 was as well, but again, I'm having a lot of trouble because of its age, and that, it disappeared for several decades at a time, tracking it. The final firearm I have isn't even my oldest. This is a Remington Model 6. This is also a takedown, but this is a rolling block. You pull the hammer back to the first click, then you push here. As you can see, well, you can't see with the hammer in the way. Almost. Yeah, you can see through there. Yeah, see? Gun is empty. Put the shell in here. Close the breech. I'm going to lower the hammer. And again, this is another one of those surprisingly accurate. This is an improved Model 6. You can see this one has a lot of closet rod on it. All I did was, actually, I didn't do a damn thing to this except burn a boar snake down it once or twice. This is another one of the takedown guns. You undo this screw. This one's really easy to do. That is a captured screw, so it won't fall out on you. And there it is. Line this up with that hole. Screw it in, as opposed to screw it up, which is what I do with everything. Once it's snug, load, close, take aim and shoot. I believe this one has been modified. If you look here, there's these little straps that come down along the stock on both sides. I haven't seen that on any other Model 6. The stock is a little bit loose, but I have been able to verify this is the original stock that came on this gun. It has also been repainted. You can see here where the paint was allowed to drip. So this was not an expert restore. You'll also see here, there's this huge crack in the stock. It does not go all the way through to the other side, so I'm going to wait on attempting to fix it with wood glue later. But this is another excellent little plinking rifle. Put a Calibri in it, snap, pop, lots of fun. Again, single shot, excellent little rifle. Having one of these in a bug out bag or a trunk or in a gun sock under your bench seat in your pickup truck or whatever, it's an excellent idea. This can get you food on the table. Any of these can do that if you're a good enough shot. Everybody always wants to talk about stopping power. Shot placement has more to do with one shot stopping power or stopping than stopping power. 45 ACP is great. I love 45 ACP. I literally, just out of sight over here, have a gallon pickle jar filled with 45 ACP. That's excellent and all, but if you can't hit your damn target, it ain't worth nothing, is it? Well, it's worth a lot, because there are 45 ACP, single rounds that go for $1 a piece. 6 cents. Practice, practice, practice. Every one of my guns, I love them to death, and I know entirely too much about them. And, yeah. I'm going to have to take this one out shooting more. Rear sight is flip up. It's down because scope. And, one of these days, I'll take you out to the range with a camera. I have a new camera to play with. I haven't gotten around to it yet. There's a long list of stuff I haven't gotten around to. Anyhow, these are just my 22 rifles. I actually do have one more, but it's not exactly a 22. I have an AR-15. I have a 22 conversion kit for my AR-15. You pull the bolt out, put a 22 bolt replacement into it, and you have, use 22 magazines designed for that kit. There's another 22 rifle, semi-automatic, as good as any of these others. Well, maybe not as good as a couple of them, but, everybody has their preferences. Anyhow, that's just a quick look at 8 of my rifles, and that's not even a large portion of my collection. I'm not going to admit now how many firearms I have. Let's just put it this way. I have to have 3 gun safes for a reason. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed me rambling at the camera and at least showing you some of the more interesting and esoteric pieces of my collection. And yes, every single one of my firearms is perfectly functional. Every single one of them is functional. Oh, wait a minute. If we're going to do 22s, I might as well bring out this one as well. But this is a handgun, not a rifle. It's a long rifle. Actually, yeah, this is the 22 Magnum cylinder. NAA mini revolver. This is the 22 Magnum cylinder. I have the 22 long rifle cylinder. Yes, they are different. No, you cannot cross-pollinate the ammo. I've got the folding holster grip because I have meaty hands and I can only get one finger on this with the little rosewood stocks. But in any case, all of my firearms are fully functional and anatomically correct, if you get that reference. Anyhow, I'm going to say good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever you're watching this. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget the bell. And please feel free to donate. I need all the help I can get at this point. I will put my PayPal in the description if you care to donate money. I need more ammo. I need more coffee. And there may be something else other than coffee in here. No, I'm just kidding. It's just coffee and cocoa. Good day, good evening, and good night, everybody.